Good morning and welcome to Founders for Schools digital event to celebrate Entrepreneurs Day. We are joined today by two speakers who are going to share their career journey and insights into how being an entrepreneur and a specialism in maths can help to save the world. So we're really excited. Thank you everybody for joining us. This event is online. Your microphones and cameras will be
People
off.
just have a seat.
I can hear some classes are just joining us as well. That's fantastic. So your microphones will be off, your cameras are off, but please do ask all of your questions to our speakers using the chat function, and we'll put all of your questions to our speakers and hopefully they'll be able to answer them. So yes, welcome. Good morning, everyone who has joined us. We have got an audience from Aberdeen in the north all the way down to London further south. Thank you for joining us. We're joined by speakers today, Danica and Sophie, who've got very different career journeys and excellent stories to share. So can we start with Sophie, please? Can you tell us what your job is, Sophie, and what that means?
Yeah, I think my job these days is actually called business owner, which is not what I set out to be at all. So I think a better title for me is probably a statistician these days. I trained as an engineer. I did a degree in aeronautical engineering and my PhD is in statistics. And what that means is I find patterns in numbers. That's all I do. I find patterns and I find shapes, and we call those shapes sometimes distributions, but that's what I do.
Thank you, Sophie. Thank you. So we've mentioned there statistics, patterns, distributions, shapes. Fabulous. Now, how does that contribute to being an entrepreneur, and how does it contribute to saving the world?
So I'll take those separately. So how did I become an entrepreneur? It was really simple. I was in my 30s. I'd got a baby in my arms, a child about to start school, and I got made redundant. And this is going back 13 years. I had no job and I needed to earn money. So I set up a business. It was that simple. The more complicated bit has been making money. Setting up a company is really simple. And I now employ 12 other people. There's 13 in the company in total. And that's how I'm an entrepreneur. I've built a business up. And how does it help save the planet? Well, maths helps save the planet for what we do in one of our products. So we use maths and patterns to predict which houses have cold and damp. So we can work out if a house is going to be cold or damp, or if it's got falls, trips, hazards. And what we do then is we work with other companies to help those houses become warm and watertight. So they save energy and people save money. So they come out of fuel poverty and we reduce and work towards carbon and net zero.
Oh, that's amazing. Amazing. Thank you. So that is such important work for people and planet that you're working on there. Thank you, Sophie. Thank you. Now let's go over to Danica. Good morning.
Good morning.
Danica, you are joining us. Would you like to share where you're joining us from today?
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I am at a WeWork in King's Cross. And the reason I had to be at a WeWork, where you can see someone, well, he's gone now, someone traveling down the escalator, is because I'm headed to a seminar right after this, which is around the corner, and had to find a quiet space. And this was the most brilliant space I could find to interact with you guys. It's proof that you can work anywhere in this world.
You can work anywhere. You can work anywhere. Thank you for joining us. Would you like to share what your job is, please, and what that means?
Of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Danica, and I am a technology investor at a seed stage fund. What that means, in very simple words, is I speak to entrepreneurs all day building very, very early stage companies, particularly in the food and sustainability sector, where they pitch their business idea to me, and I get a total of 1,200 pitches a year, of which I choose about 12 to invest in a given year. And so what this means is, a lot of my focus is meeting people, trying to understand what they're trying to do to change the world, and then joining them on their journey to do that. My background is very, very mathematical. So I studied maths at A levels in Singapore, and then moved to the US. I studied math in college. I then got sort of a master's in finance at the London Business School, and I was an investment banker for many years. So everything in my head right now is just numbers and statistics and all of that. And how did that get me to a career in investing in startups? I transitioned to the technology sector after working at an investment bank. I worked at Uber, which hopefully is a household name these days. So I worked at Uber in the ride hailing division, and then started the Uber Eats business. And then thought to myself one day, well, I'm putting more people in cars, which is not in line with how I feel about sustainability. And so I then got appointed to be the general manager of the bikes and scooters division, which I felt very passionate about because I was taking people out of cars and putting them onto more sustainable modes of transportation. So I know we're celebrating sustainability today, and sustainability and thinking about sustainability has driven me in my career all through the lines, and is, very much what keeps me going today, and in all of my work meeting with entrepreneurs.
Fantastic. Thank you. What a story. Thank you for sharing that. So you mentioned that you help to invest in about 12 companies or projects a year. And how many proposals and pitches did you get, do you say, a year?
1,200.
Wow. So it is really quite competitive, getting that investment to be an entrepreneur. Can we talk about that a little bit then? So if we've got any budding entrepreneurs at home watching or in the classroom, what makes an idea or a person stand out?
Yeah, of course. I think about it in three ways. So at very early stages in ideation, you need to be really crisp about what problem you're wanting to solve. And I think about it in a couple ways. A lot of the problems that we're looking to solve these days may not be commercial to start with, so they may not have any potential of making money or bringing in revenues. In the short run, that is not a terrible thing. However, in a long run, as an investor, I invest in businesses. And so, there needs to be an articulation from entrepreneurs and founders about how big and how great their business will become in 5, 6, 7 years. And so it starts with a seed, it grows into a tree. We know it takes a long time, but the most important thing is how clear and articulate a founder has thought through the problem that they want to solve. They need to convince me that this is a big enough problem that I spend, years of my time helping them solve. So as an investor, I don't just sort of, give you 2, 3, 4 million pounds. I take a seat on your board and I help you solve the problem. I help you hire the people, I help you find the right advisors, and I help you grow this company to become big and wonderful. So yes, the first thing is articulating the problem. And the second thing is, being close to the problem that you want to solve. So think about it. If you have a background in healthcare, but all of a sudden decide to, follow your passion and be an artist, that's all well and good. But when you're selling sort of the proposition in the art space to me, I'm not necessarily going to connect your ability of an artist to your background in healthcare. So I really like founders who are close to the problem that they're trying to solve. Those are two of the really interesting things I think that make sort of a proposition great. Being really close to the problem that you're trying to solve and being able to articulate how this is going to, your solution will change the world.
Thank you. So we have to think about presentation and oracy skills as well as the actual problem. And coming back to being very crisp about the problem, Sophie, I imagine that that's the same when you're presented with a problem.
It is exactly the same. We spend more time talking to our clients to work out what it is they actually want answered and what it is that we're really going to have to make sure we give them, because often what they come with is a good idea of what they want, and they've tried to articulate that. And when we sit with them and go, okay, so this is how we answer it, and this is what you get, that's when they start to go, oh no, hang on, that's not what we want, that's not what we need. Actually, we want to do some follow-on work with it. So we spend an awful lot of time in problem formulation, and equally as much time explaining what we've done and how that makes an impact. So how can you use it? What are the limitations of what you can use, and what does it mean? Because not everybody we work with loves stats. I don't know why, but not everybody we get to deal with loves the stats as much as we do. And especially when we use those big words like machine learning and artificial intelligence, everyone goes, oh, it's a black box, it's magic. No, it's not. It's maths, and it's explainable at a really good level. So that's what we do a lot of.
Okay, thank you. So can you think of any examples of different types of maths that you use on quite a regular basis to be able to break down these problems that people at home might recognise?
Yeah, so you can use, you hear all these really, really big things like random forests, and we're doing all these major things, and actually it breaks down to something really simple: straight lines. If you want to work in artificial intelligence, if you want to work in machine learning, these big buzzwords, you need to do linear algebra, and you've got to be able to plot a straight line. All that time that your teachers make you spend drawing a beautiful graph with axes and straight lines and plotting a line of best fit, that is the fundamentals of so much of what we do. And the reason we hire mathematicians is because it sounds quite old, they can draw brilliant straight lines. And the other thing that we use a lot are decision trees. They get a bit fancier, but basically my maths is nothing more than a decision tree. And if you can do those two things, you've got a brilliant foundation. And we use those day in, day out.
So you use the maths day in, day out.
Day out. Yeah.
Thank
We
you.
don't all do it on a whiteboard. We do some coding. Sorry, my lights have just gone off. But yes, that's what we do. But if you can do linear algebra, straight line graphs, and probability trees, brilliant.
Straight line graphs, algebra, probability, decision trees. Thank you. This is fantastic. Now you mentioned there about how you do that. So do you ever get a chance and time to go away and think about these things? Do you get to talk about and discuss, or do you need the answer straight away?
We never have the answer straight away. We're wrong 99% of the time, which there is no answer to the problems we always do. So yes, and we do that in a few ways. So we have a whiteboard, but maths, by the way, is not a bunch of people doing stuff on a whiteboard in a company. We have a little office where we bounce ideas off each other. We are a hybrid team. Some people are remote, some people come in the office, some do both. So we always have the ability to chat and talk. We have open Teams calls. We also have Teaching Thursdays. So for 90 minutes every Thursday, it's protected time. The whole company has no meetings, and you just learn whatever topic you want to learn. Sometimes people do little workshops in the company, but you can read a book. It's encouraged. We've got textbooks. We've got other books in our office. So yeah, we learn. We never have the answer, and we spend a lot of time on Stack Overflow, if I'm very truthful, trying to write our code.
Thank you. That's very, very insightful. I'm going to hand over to Danica now to share your experiences with, just as Sophie was saying, how often do you have to have the answer there and then? And how often do you get to go and think about it, discuss it, check it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you think about all the brilliant entrepreneurs that pitch their businesses to me, there are a lot of sectors that I don't have full information on. So I have a small team that does a lot of research and spends a lot of time researching market trends, doing forecasts on what's happening in the market, in different industries and in different sectors. In addition to that, we sort of work as well on business models, right? So coming up with profit and loss statements, forecasting revenue, using basic arithmetic to, calculate down into things like margin, which is basically a measure of profit and profitability in the short term and in the long run for a business. So the short answer to your question is, a lot of my work is around research, and not just research in sort of today's trends, but forecasting research or what's going to happen in 5 years or 10 years. And to do that, a lot of our work is look back analysis. So what does looking back at history tell us about the future of where the world is going, and how do we map out those trends?
Thank you. So patterns and trends. Yes, and taking time to look back at them. I raised that point because sometimes it can be uncomfortable if we don't know the answer straight away. And sometimes we really have to dig deep to keep trying at something, or we have to go and ask somebody else. So it's very reassuring to see that actually everybody has that moment. Sophie, was there ever a time when you really had to be resilient and dig deep in work?
Yeah, and I was just basically all the time. We spent so much of our time going, okay, not sure. Let's just have another think and getting through it. I mean, I think the two big things. So I did my PhD part-time. So I was working full-time and I did my PhD in the evenings and weekends. And PhDs are a problem that nobody knows if you've got an answer to. And at the end of it, 8 years down the line for me, you still might not have answered it. So that took quite a bit of resilience just to keep going. And there are times when it's just deeply frustrating when you think you've thrown everything at it, because this is the great thing about maths. If you've got to answer a question and you're at school, there's only so many things you can do where, frankly, by chance, you probably end up with the answer. Whereas when we're at work, we don't know always what's going to do that. And so, like you say, when you're doing research, and we always have company research projects on the go. A lot of the time it is just a case of saying, okay, so we have now literally thrown everything we know, let's park, let's have a think and come back another day. Sometimes it's a cup of tea, and sometimes it's reading and going away. So we're doing the fish research to work out where fish come from for provenance, for sustainability. We've been doing that for 5 years now, and it just keeps trudging. But if we get it right, it will stop illegal and unregulated fishing. So I think it's looking at the end goal and seeing what you will get out of this. Because as you know, as I told you before, Louise, if we manage to stop the illegal fishing, we stop the human trafficking. So it's really important, and we just keep going and looking at the longer game.
That's right, thank you. So that's very different to being asked a question in the classroom or in a maths exam, for example. It's quite different having to have the answer there and then. And Danica, I know you've shared that you loved maths at school, but there are some people, there's been a question that, were there any areas that you struggled with?
Yes, so so vectors were not my strong suit. And when I studied maths in university, I really struggled with that. And you know, my journey with math was an evolution. I think I wouldn't say it was a straight line. It took many different forms. You know, maths in high school is very different from maths in the early stage. When I went to university, I was actually a declared chemistry major. And you use maths in everything from the sciences to engineering to even some arts and economics. And so you don't need to be comfortable with all different elements of mathematics or physics. Absolutely not. You just need to, you know, be eager to always be curious and learn. And mathematics is such a broad field of study that you know, you can be like Sophie and go really deep on a specific area of mathematics, or you can be like me and know basic. I mean, I studied mathematics, but my use of math today is pretty basic. You know, it's arithmetic, it's divisions, it's percentages, but just as long as you can think in a way that's a bit structured, I believe that, you know, learning mathematics is really important for my brain. Not important for the content in itself, because I've forgotten a lot of it, but really important just for the way I think about the world and about life.
Thank you. We hear that a lot from our guest speakers, that a lot of the benefits of studying maths is the way of thinking and being able to, as we said earlier, identify a problem and think, how am I going to work this out? So sometimes it's the actual content of the maths and sometimes it's a mathematical way of thinking. That's very interesting. Thank you. We've had a question come through from a student who says they have an idea, but they feel that because they are young and a student that they might immediately get turned down. Do you have any advice or thoughts that you would put to that person?
Of course. You know, the UK is a brilliant place where there are programs, small and large, for people of all ages that are looking to think about and grow their ideas. If I were you, I would start looking at several accelerator programs within either university settings or settings that really are investing in building what people call an ecosystem of young people looking at generating ideas. So, you know, your target audience is probably not me. It is, however, people like me who are willing to give people like you their time, just on advice, but especially look out for, the word accelerator. And what is an accelerator? An accelerator is a structured program that takes you through the stages of entrepreneurship. So it teaches you, how to set up your first company. Do you know what Companies House is? How to incorporate an entity. It teaches you things like how to make your first hire, how to do a PowerPoint presentation articulating your idea. And even though you may have a brilliant idea, everyone needs a bit of learning on how to actually take the idea and turn it into a business. And so there are programs across universities. There's some run by Google, there's some run by other big technology companies, which have an application process for which, if you're really interested in entrepreneurship, you should apply to one or two.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Sophie, do you have anything else to add?
So I back that up because like I say, I never set out to become a business owner. It was entirely by fluke, and I've made so many mistakes along the way, that if you are looking to set up, I would say there are lots of help. And the other one is once a year, Theo Petitis from Dragon's Den, he has a Small Business Sunday. Now we've won that award, but he does it for people under the age of 18, twice a year. And that is well worth looking out for, because if you win that, you get a whole host of other support, and you cannot have enough of support and enough of a network going forwards.
Right, thank you. So accelerator programs, but also sort of competition elements that you're just saying there. So entering competition. Thank you. I hope that has answered some of the questions that were in the chat there. So for our audience at home or in the classroom, please do answer the polls that we've put in to get an idea about your thoughts on the impact of the pandemic on your career prospects, and there are other questions coming through in the chat now. So I'll go back to our speakers, and you've shared your journey with maths and with being an entrepreneur. Thank you. What gets you up in the morning and into work, Sophie?
So I just think there is now the absolute requirement. I've got to pay 12 of the people, so we've got to actually keep the business running, which is quite a new thing. So we've grown quite quickly over the last 2 years. I love my job. I can't tell you how much I love my job. I get to work on maths problems and I get to do some coding. I'm not allowed to do that very much these days. The tech team keep me locked out of the AWS secure environment a lot in case I have a good idea. But I get to work on problems. I get to talk to people. No 2 days are the same. And the bottom line is we do seem to make a difference. I saw a brilliant quote. This is not where I thought I would be when I was a child. I thought I was going to build gas turbine blades. It is where I think I need to be, because it is something I love, and I do see the difference that we make. So that's what gets me out of bed, just the sheer joy and the difference of every day.
Thank you. That's really inspiring, Sophie. Thank you. Danica?
Yeah, for me, it's talking to brilliant people. I talk to many brilliant people every day, young people, older people, people of all shapes, sizes, colors, and I am determined to ensure that capital goes to not just the privileged, not just people who've gone to a certain type of university, and that's what keeps me going. I have I'm a new mom to a very little boy, and a part of me knows that my day-to-day work will impact the world that he lives in. I invest at the earliest stages in companies that some of which will become billion-dollar companies, changing the world, that products that develop products for which my son will use, and that's really important to me, and so that keeps me going every day.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think sometimes when we read the news and we find out about issues, it seems there are a lot of problems. There's very high profile about a lot of the problems that need to be worked on in the world. We talk about the global goals, the sustainable development goals, and young people and a lot of older people care so passionately, and it can be very difficult to work out how as an individual, we can help solve some of these big problems. And I think we've had some excellent insight this morning into how an individual can help to work towards the global goals. So thank you very much. We do have a question coming through about somebody would be very keen to have a quick chat about some other insights into being an entrepreneur. So we'll see if we can put people in contact that way. But I think going back to being able to make a difference, what would you say to somebody who was considering maths and really wanted to make a difference in the world, if they were considering taking that as a next step in a subject to study? What would you say to them, please, Danica?
So I would say that, studying maths or any branch of the, the field of mathematics will open doors across different sectors of the world that you will be in the driving seat of choosing. And I work specifically with companies across, the sustainability sector, whether that's carbon sustainability, food sustainability, as well as, consumer apps, as well as many different things. And in all of those things, Sophie will tell you as well, quantitative analytical thinkers are pretty much the only types of people that are hired in large segments of the economy these days. And so I would almost say that, if someone is not good at maths, that's okay, because there's a world of arts and artistic sort of, jobs that are out there. But if you even have a slight inclination for maths, the world ahead of you will be a very vast world in terms of opportunities that, you could explore after high school, after university.
Thank you. Thank you. Sophie, what would you say to that young person who was considering whether to take maths?
So I think there's three things. Firstly, I didn't like maths at school. Right, I didn't. Maths was required to do engineering and physics was my love. So even if you don't love maths now, as we've said do maths, keep your maths going, because it is absolutely essential. We only hire mathematicians. I don't hire people who've done a data science conversion degree. Mathematicians, that foundation, that training, that way of thinking is what we look for. And I also think the thing is, Andrew Wiles, who solved Fermat's last theorem, said something really insightful. He did this amazing thing in solving Fermat's last theorem. It took years, but to do that, to do the thing he cared about, he had to do other stuff in order to eat and stay alive. So I think, yes, absolutely do maths and go for it, but don't be afraid that the first job isn't that thing you actually set out to be. It's not your dream job. Everything's going to give you experience. Everything's going to keep you one step closer, even if you realize you don't like it. So don't be ashamed to go and do any job or a job that just keeps you moving forward. And the other thing is read. Just read, because the more you read about where you want to work and the more you read about the type of things you want to do, the more you understand about how the job you're in will or will not get you to where you need to be. But please keep your maths up and keep reading. Just keep your math skills going.
Thank you. Thank you both. That has been very insightful, informative and inspiring, and I hope that the audience at home have left with a better insight of how maths can be used in many ways to save the world. So thank you to everybody for joining us. Thank you for the questions in the chat and for answering the polls, and a huge thanks to our two speakers today. This session will appear on our YouTube channel, and we have other events throughout the day that you may be joining on entrepreneurship and sustainability. So we hope to see you again later in the day. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.